Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another movie commentary. I know it's been a while, but this is what was voted on by our patrons at our $25 tier, the Centurion level. Because today we're going to be talking over Mad Max Fury Road. Oh yeah, man, I haven't seen this movie for a long time. But if you want to watch along with me, kind of like follow along, then we can just, we'll do that here. And basically right now I'm starting, the WB logo is just coming into frame, and then we'll go from there. So here we go, in 3, 2, 1. WB logo coming into frame. Bam, right there. And we're starting to rev up the engine, and here we go. Oh man, it's been a while since I've seen this. Ooh, it's nice. It's nice coming back to this movie. I remember seeing it in theaters and thinking, oh, this is like a car guy movie, but it's more to it than that, I think. Little narration here in the beginning, which is fine. They kind of jump right into the story. There's not so much of it, but that's fine with me. Water Wars. Sounds like what I used to play in my backyard. Yeah. I think Max talks more in this narration opening than he does in the actual film. Now, a fun thing about this movie, too, is that the editor for this movie was actually George Miller's wife, and she'd never edited an action movie before, and she was kind of asking, like, why do you want me to edit this? And he said, well, if a guy did it, it'd be like any other action movie. It took her like 3 months to get through all the editing. There was hundreds of hours. Yeah. Definitely a style to this film. Just like an overexposure. It's cool. Yeah, one thing, too, that you see a lot of times in these post-apocalyptic movies is you have these kind of crazy characters, and Max is just a little nuts, but everybody in this world is, like, super crazy, so by comparison, he's really not that bad. Oh, yeah, here we go. And one thing you'll probably hear me talk about a lot in this movie, the practicality of everything. Using CGI sparingly, using it to kind of bump up the landscapes. But if you look at these guys, oh yeah, here they come. Oh, this is so cool. Max, how didn't you hear them coming earlier? He's just like, oh, it's on my own little world there. Ah, so cool. Another fun thing here, too, is kind of watching our hero get taken down a peg in the very, like, first moments of the film here. It's like, whoa, wait, what? Yep, he's just like any other man, though. Yeah, tragic backstory, kind of what you expect from something like this. I really enjoyed the kind of look of all of these vehicles, too. Oh, and just there we go. The music kicking in. Another really strong aspect of this film, if I remember correctly. I think that he needed the haircut, though. Oh, yeah, they're marking him and stuff. Ugh. Gosh. Oh, yeah, to kind of say Road Warrior and stuff. Yeah, yep. Kind of a kinetic editing, too, to this whole thing that you kind of feel like it's just so intense and crazy the whole time. Yeah. Music gets me amped up. I love it. Tom Hardy, just such a great actor too. You know, we've seen him most recently. If you guys are watching this, Venom was the last big thing that he did. But he's such a physical actor, but also can prove that he doesn't also really need to even speak to really show a lot of emotion. And I think that's such a cool thing. Uh, a little creepy imagery there. I do like the bubbles kind of sticking to his face. Really cool. And I do like that this is just kind of turning into this crazy dog pile that's allowing him to kind of run around here. Oh, creepy kids, man. And this is technically the fourth installment in this franchise. And to be honest with you guys, I've never ever seen the first three. So I'm sorry, I don't know a lot about Mad Max at all. This is kind of my entry point. And apparently he signed on for like 3 more films. Also, this would not be something I would try. It's like, what's your end game there, Max? That's kind of his style, is that like he doesn't really think through stuff. He just kind of he acts, in the moment, which in this world you kind of have to do. Yeah, what a crazy intro to this. Just like, oh man. That's bass, I think, is what that sound is coming from. It just gives me the goosebumps every time. And here we get Charlize Theron, kind of the main protagonist of this film in a lot of ways. I really think she's kind of the one to watch out for. Very cool character. Oh yeah, and some of the the disgusting nature of these characters really brought to life by these practical effects too. Immortan Joe being the top one of those. Gotta get that guzzling. Yes, sir. Yeah. I love calling gasoline guzzling. If you call gasoline guzzling after seeing this movie, then we're friends. Just know that you and I are friends now. Now, apparently the guy who played Immortan Joe was actually a toe cutter like 30 years ago in the franchise of Mad Max, so that's kind of fun. And even though I say that now, I did look up some facts because I just said like I've never really seen the other movies, so I don't just know these things. Yeah, and the design of Immortan Joe, this main bad guy, really cool. It feels like a video game come to life, and this guy's like the main boss, you know. Oh, and his creepy little brother or assistant or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. I love that he's got this kind of breather on in the back, but also it's kind of like a creepy skull teeth thing. And that gesture right there from the gentleman there, where they kind of cross their fingers, is supposed to be like the V8 engine or Valhalla. Also, kind of a fun mixture of, like Norse mythology and Valhalla, but like this Australian kind of world too. And this was shot actually in, I believe, Africa. So, a lot of different things going on here. And the fact that they all respond and, cheer for this guy, even though he's a bad guy, just because he's got access to what they want, which is water. Yeah, it's so crazy, because in a world like that, if you did control a natural resource in an area, you would be a king. You just would be. You just be like, yep, I control the water. And people just fighting for it, just wanting it, just like, ah. This movie does a really good job of doing some world building pretty quickly too. Even though in the beginning they kind of do like those newsreel like or news audio kind of clips, but right here you kind of get a feel already for like what are the big things: water, gasoline, or guzzling, and how the world has got this kind of class system here. And there's these kind of warrior drivers. Just a fun world, interesting to watch, I should say. So the writing there for Immortan Joe, just you will resent its absence. It's just that's just kind of fun. It's like, okay, it's a well-spoken, crazy dictator guy. Also, looking how they, mix the mechanical with just like regular labor, where these guys just have to walk on these big things. It's crazy. Yeah, a desperate struggle in this world of Mad Max Fury Road. Now, here we go. Again, you can still tell this visual style throughout. There's this hint or of hue to it all. Just something that really sticks out. It's just very catching. It just kind of makes almost every shot look like it's a piece of art. And I really enjoy that. It's like looking at a graphic novel kind of thing. Oh, and another thing that's kind of weird too is that using people as like blood bags, basically. It's like, ugh. Disgusting. Now, it's been a few years since this movie came out, and I'm really hoping that we do get to return here pretty soon, because this is such a cool world, not only from just an artistic standpoint, but the fact that it really was still pushing for a lot of these practical effects. I do love that a lot. I think that's really cool. And then thinking about the editing process and just how cool would that be to get to see all this stuff, like all this practical footage, and get to decide what people are going to see. Oh, so cool. And right here, we can see that Furiosa maybe not going along with the plan. She doesn't care. I also like that the names of these towns are all about like the resource that's there. So Bullet Farm, Gas Town. I like it. And I also love that they respond to her, like whatever she says. Also, an interesting visual here, using people as basically cows. That guy is huge, that dude on the left. Oh my gosh. Oh. Every little thing too, like even the spyglass here, the telescope. If you look at the detail to it, it's insane. Like just a bunch of things kind of like screwed together. Oh yeah, is that technically maybe they're the suns? I don't know, but like the guy's got a scar across his chest, so maybe he had some sort of work done to his heart. And also kind of crazy, you see him running through that kind of greenhouse, but then opening this vault where you think, oh, is there just gonna be like money and stuff in here? No, it's like where he keeps his prisoners. Just like, oh my gosh, what was this place before? You can get kind of see like a chalkboard or something over here, probably where they were taught. Interesting. So crazy. You get just enough to kind of follow along with this story. Also, for people who don't know me, I used to be a percussionist back in high school, just for a little while, and in middle school and stuff. So anytime I hear a good drum beat, like we're hearing right now, I'm in, baby. Like, gets me all amped up. Now, right there, you kind of like it gets a little annoying because it's basically that guy is all he's doing is providing context. He's just giving a bunch of information, and that's about it. It's like, it could have been better, but still. Over here, showing that they pray to the engine that is V8 and getting their wheels out to go driving. I love it. It's so interesting how their hierarchy works and how like they work together and all this stuff where you have like a driver and a lancer. Ah, and poor Max is just kind of literally brought along for the ride. It's crazy too because like after playing games like Rage and Borderlands, I just these characters they make sense to me. It's like, oh yeah, I get it. That's what I expect. Oh, I don't remember him saying that before, but now having Max strapped to the front being the blood bag is so crazy to me. It's just like, oh, poor guy. He's like us. We're just here. Like we can't help it. We're just going along. Now this guy is one of the coolest things about this movie. Look at this. How metal is this dude? Now apparently that guitar weighed over 100 pounds, like 130 some odd pounds, which is nuts. But he actually controlled the fire with the whammy, and it's like that's sick. Like to me, it's so cool. And look at like Immortan Joe's vehicle, so cool. I'm really hoping one day we can all meet up someday, Legionnaires, and I can just look at someone for a second and they can be excited like this, you know. I kid, I kid. Look at this guy, he just gets so excited. It's like they're just showing off to their dad or something almost. It's so funny to me. And this movie doesn't really waste a lot of time with pretense. Like they do really get right into stuff quickly. And kind of one of the bigger complaints for some people is that the story is not really the main focus of this. It's kind of a backdrop, and it's more of just like one big chase sequence. I still think there's a decent enough story here, though. I also really enjoy that Furiosa's makeup is basically like a helmet, you know, with like grease on her face like that. It's just so striking, but it's so simple. Now, apparently, these guys, if you're watching the English version of Mad Max Fury Road, they're speaking Russian, and the German one as well. But if you're watching the Russian version of this movie, they're actually speaking in German. So it's always different no matter when you hear them. It's supposed to be foreign, I believe. Also, it's kind of cool to see the differentiation between the war boys and these kind of nomad guys with all the spikes. Cool to see the brand basically be on the grill of their vehicles too. Yeah. Yeah, this is just it's just so crazy to me, like all this stuff. The practicality. Like obviously not all of it is practical, but like apparently 80% of it is. So you really get a sense of realism throughout every sequence. Oh my gosh. Ugh. And like these cool like flame spears. Yeah. It's cool. I get like this also twisted metal vibe from all this stuff too, which I really dig. Oh my gosh. There goes the porcupine mobile. Also, like that one guy who kind of shot that's got like kind of like pustules on his neck. Like you look at some of these guys and you can see like their abnormalities if you just take a second to look. Yeah. Oh. Furiosa proving that she can drive and shoot. Why pick one? Oh yeah. And it's not over the top carnage and mayhem. Like that just makes sense. Like what happened there. Like it. I love it. Oh, and this thing got the big like scoop on it. Hilarious. I just want to like charge into a battle with like the guitar guys and the drummers. Like it's so cool to me. Imagine not only being like a driver or a lancer in this, but being in Max's position where you were just stuck on the front of one of these things, flying so fast and having these spears, almost hit him. Oh, so crazy. And you guys know me, I love a good grapple, which I'm going to call that a grapple. It's kind of a harpoon, I suppose, but adding a new level of physics to the whole fight. Probably one of the quietest deaths in this whole thing. Or is it? Oh, yeah. This is great. One of the best shots right here. Uh, it's so great because you think that guy's just going to die and nothing's going to happen, but the whole witness me thing gets born out of it. Chroming, and they're praying to V8 and Valhalla and all that. It's so good. Apparently, that the chroming is supposed to be kind of like a nod to some sort of like inhalant abuse, obviously. I don't know exactly what they used to do that because I'm sure they weren't spraying them like faces with real chrome, but still interesting. Yeah, and seeing some of these old cars that they use as the base is also just wonderful because you can tell there's some history here that they kind of are pulling on, but they're just kind of patching things together. One thing you'll notice too is that there's a special kind of hue to all the fire as well. There's something about it just like a little more crimson or something that really, really pops. Now this is the type of stuff they need in like Fast and Furious a little bit more. Like look at how every moment feels so dire like in this fight. Like there's just new things popping up all the time. I love it. And they're just whipping explosives, trying to save each other. Oh goodness. Oh man. Just look at that. But you can always tell what's going on too with this. Like, even though it's crazy and it moves around a lot, you can still tell where everybody is for the most part and who's winning the fights and all of that. It's really good. Yeah, this movie just goes crazy right away. Oh my gosh. I love it. Just charge right into this crazy storm. Now, obviously, this is going to be CG, and it's kind of the big moment of the film that uses this the most. But for me, it's fine because it's just like that was one of the big visual things they were showing off in the trailers. They're kind of like, oh, look at this craziness. And that's fine because you're not going to really, find something quite like this. And I love that her buddy right here just doesn't understand what's going on. Coordinating the driving sequences, I'm sure, are very much like coordinating fight scenes. Kind of saying, all right, where is everything? Like, okay, so that wheel just, went flat. Like, we have to put that into it, and they're falling behind and trying to make sure everybody's in place. And it's like, oh, this gives Max his moments. It's like, ugh. And then it's like, oh, don't forget about the guitar guy who's just back there. He's like, don't worry, guys, we're still doing it. The whole having, like, your blood taken from you is horrible in the first place, but then have it to kind of be wrapped around with a chain, it just seems so dirty and horrible. It's like, ugh. Also, in this moment right here, I get a little bit of like Raiders of the Lost Ark vibe, or Indies fighting on the truck and stuff, which is great. Just like a little, it's not a nod necessarily because anybody's going to fight, like in a desert like that with, a rope and stuff, but still. This sequence also kind of reminds me a little bit of Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, where you have that really crazy sequence in the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, and then you have that sandstorm kind of roll in afterward. Kind of like taking your action set piece and continuing it in a different way, but still keeping that level of high tension, which I think works really well. But here, obviously, a little more visually stunning with this kind of like lightning and sand and tornadoes all kicking up. Yeah, it's really pretty. And hopefully, wherever you're watching this, you're watching a really good version of it on a nice big TV. Yeah, oh man. So cool. It's like this kind of sad music, but then you're like, oh, these guys are kind of horrible, so it's fine. Such a video game movie. And I mean that in the best way. I love too that now that he's kind of throwing the throttle down, or he's just putting the pedal to the metal, there's just fire coming out of everywhere. Yep, going all out. So crazy. Witness me blood bag. Poor Max is just like, oh no. I think it's because Max can't jump off the back because he'll just get like wrecked. Also, the nice thing about Nux too, who's this war boy, he's crazy, but he's pretty intelligent, which is nice as comparatively to his other brothers. I live, I die, I live again. So many quotable moments. See, the thing is, I just don't think Max would survive that. I really don't. But he does, because, well, it'd just be a different movie if you weren't around. And really, you probably could have just followed Furiosa with this. But also a really cool visual here of him kind of coming slowly out of the sand, just seeming like he's kind of half buried and coming back to life in a way. Maybe that's his superpower. People wanted him to be Wolverine, so maybe he's got a little bit of that in here. I'll take it, I'll take it. Now keep in mind, he's been like tattooed and he's been branded and he's been like held hostage and beat up and turned into a blood bag and on the front of a car, and now surviving this. Ugh, just having that big hook in you. Ugh. Ugh. Now, what would normally happen in something like this is that we'd find our hero in a pickle a little bit, but they'd find a way to break the chain with a gun or a hammer or something. He'd find a way around it in most circumstances. That's just usually how it goes. And here you got Max. He's like, oh, cool, I found the double-barrel shotgun, sawed-off shotgun, which, side note, they need more of those in movies. It's so great. And so it's like, what's he going to do? He's going to blow this guy's hand off and be like, oh, of course, it doesn't work. Kind of one of Max's things is that he doesn't seem like the guns always work when they need him to. But instead of, saying that as a detriment to this film of kind of like in most cases where they just break it off right away really easily, they use that to their advantage here and make an interesting situation that we wouldn't normally see in an action film quite like this. Also, I like that they address the fact that these vehicles would be plugged up with tons of sand right now. And that transition with the drumming there against the exhaust or whatnot. Love it. And without a blade around or something, he's just got to carry this dead weight, more or less. And hope it works. So cool, holding the car door and Nux with a shotgun. Yeah, not something you think you'd see out in the desert like this. Those crazy, like, creepy chastity belts. Ugh. Another cool thing about Furiosa is she kind of plays this middle ground between, like, the ferocity of Max, but also of, like, these brides where, in another circumstance she might be one of them, but she's kind of fought against all of that and proven herself to be like a leader of the war band. And that's just so cool to me, is that it's just like, you look at Furiosa and you're like, you just wouldn't mess with her ever. Again, visual storytelling. I mean, they're kind of on the nose about this one. They talked about them as breeders and stuff, but basically Immortan Joe using these ladies as just, his own personal baby makers. And that Furiosa doesn't really need more of a reason than that to kind of save these these young women. Yep. I've been there, man. Just take all the water you need from that hose. It's great. Again, Tom Hardy kind of showing off his acting prowess by barely saying much, but lots of grunts and lots of just like meaningful gestures or just looks of the eye. Just, it's very good. It's good. I kind of get like a Twizzlers vibe every time I see that um, that tube for his blood. I'm like, ugh. And you could see her for a split second come charging for him, which is so great. The fact that he bluffed them the whole time is so good. Another thing I love to see in movies and in TV and stuff are unlikely alliances. And weirdly enough, we're going to get one very shortly here. Furiosa also proving she doesn't need another arm to be devastatingly terrifying as a warrior. And Nux kind of coming back into it and being a third party to this fight without even trying to right away. It's so cool, I think. Because you have Max who's just trying to survive, Nux who's trying to stop Furiosa, Furiosa who's trying to save all these women and deal with all this craziness going on. And the fact that they keep a gun just hidden away like that, it's so good. And that little bit of like deafening noise that comes in as the gunshot goes. Ugh. And using that chain, look at that. There's the physicality, the physics in this fight. I love it so much. It's so good. And the bride's also still trying to assist in whatever way they can. And they work together there for a second, which is so good. That gosh. So like Nux and Max have this kind of understanding of like, we need to stop Furiosa right now together, even though we might not be on the same side. And Bolt got his chain. It's like, I still don't trust him. We should make that a thing, everybody. Just say, so Chrome. You can also kind of see here why Tom Hardy was good as Bane, too, even though a lot of people make fun of his voice, kind of showing off how much he can do with very little words. I love that little skeleton hand there on the door. It's great. And Max also proving that he, as a character, is just, he's in it for himself. Another thing that I love so much about Furiosa are her eyes. They're just so striking. So much color. uh, and so great that even though he kind of thinks he's going to get away with all of this, it's just like, nope. You got to keep them all together somehow. So close, Max. Yet so very far. Furiosa also proving that she's not only a good warrior, but she's also very intelligent too. And again, like before with Nux, another unlikely alliance is forming. Just kind of hearing the music start to pick up more and more as they're getting closer and closer, which is great, because not only the roar of the vehicles, but just the guitar just coming, the drums. Max having to make his choice here. Ugh. And finally, the one thing that he's excited about. Getting that thing off his face. Oh, it's so great. Because that would drive me nuts. Like, imagine that. Like, having not only someone take all of your blood and stuff and do all this horrible stuff to you, but then have this big metal thing on your face the whole time, especially when you're in, like, multiple fights. Ugh. And how on edge Max is, too, at all times. I really enjoy that. Yep. Max is no dummy either. He's just unfortunately gets the raw end of the deal more often than not. I really do like Nicholas Hoult in this role. I think he does a good job. I've never really enjoyed him as Hank McCoy, as Beast in X-Men, but I think this is a much better role for him, I think. Like the other parts of cars that are put into that war rig. So great. Another fun thing is that the guns also look, for most of them, they do look pretty good. It's like, okay, you can tell what they're taking care of in this world. It's crazy. Ah. Double barrel sawed off shotgun. So good. Which is, I think, German Schlange for snake. Could be wrong about that. You didn't think this was going to be a German lesson, huh? While you're watching this movie? Well, guess what? It might kind of be. So there. So what you'll also notice, too, is if you're looking for it, is that they use a lot of their CGI budget, as it were, to really just punch up the landscape. So it's less dangerous for them to take all these practical and real vehicles out here. And I think that's the best way to use it. Yeah, Tom Hardy, his nervous energy is so perfect for this role. He's very good. I think as I get older, the more I appreciate that sort of thing. It's like, I really feel like you are Max. I do like Furiosa's metal arm, too. That's really neat. Apparently, she inadvertently broke Tom Hardy's nose during a fight sequence once, which is kind of funny. She just elbowed him at one point when she wasn't supposed to. It's just everything on this vehicle is a weapon. It's so good. Another thing I didn't mention before, but on the tires, kind of on the, what was it, the rims of them, basically, there's all like this kind of messed up metal that's all like crushed and angled, and it's really cool because it's just like, you might not use it to like fight other people, but it's just adds a little bit more to the whole war rig feel. And I think because there's this kind of kinetic through line between everything in this movie, just constantly on the move, it kind of makes it feel like it goes by quicker. It doesn't really feel like there's a lot of pauses or breaks. They do have a few moments like that, but for the most part, it's just kind of go, 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 go. Finally. Oh, having that off. Also, I don't know if this is because of the water, but like the grease that was on Furiosa's face has come off a lot, so maybe that happened during that fight. She spits at him, he spits back at her. Love it. Yeah, and even Nux has got these kind of like little pustule boils like on his neck, kind of clavicle. Nice of them not to kill him though. Kind of seeing the three groups coming together there. Yeah. Yeah, it starts to get even crazier, which is hard to imagine. Another fun thing that you kind of notice with a lot of these guys, the war boys obviously are kind of painted up in white, but Furiosa and mostly Max are super duper tan. But because these young women were kept in a vault and stuff, they're just like very pale for the most of them, or they're not seeing the outside very often, as you would imagine. Dual wielding pistols, Max. You're a man after my own heart. Thank you. I also appreciate, even though Max is he's pretty nuts like everybody else, he isn't a creep. I think it would have been easy for them to be like, oh, look, he found all these sexy women all by himself. And he's like, nope, he just wants to get out of there. Doesn't want to die. I love that, just the eyebrow raise, huh? And I've already forgotten the sequence. I also like that we get a moment there of Furiosa where she doesn't seem as strong as she always does. She has this moment where she's kind of weak, and she kind of is, or vulnerable, I should say, and she kind of looks at him with these eyes like, "Hey, like, can we work on this together? I'm gonna need your help on this, please. Don't do anything dumb. I need you." Which Max isn't really needed very often, it seems like, in this world, so it's nice to have that. And there you go, getting the grease back on her face. Oh, it's so cool. Just a simple look, but just so striking with her eyes too. It's a really good job. I also really love about the war rig here, just kind of looking at the design of it. I love that just the back, I'm pretty sure is specifically for fuel only. It's like a gigantic, like, gas orb, it seems like, or sphere. Also, what's great about her prosthetic arm is that they just basically CGI'd out her arm itself, even though that frame is still on there. It's still like pretty practical for the most part, which is just another just great job on their part. That was a dramatic point. It even had a noise. Oh. It's in an opportune time to move the brides when one of them is like 9 months pregnant, Spherio. So come on now. You should have thought of this. Max is a good wheelman. Yeah, these motorcycle guys, it's good stuff. Yeah, this is that. I love a big orchestra too, and the strings and everything, but mixed with kind of this techno vibe and this kind of driving beat to the whole thing. It really just punches it all up to a new level. Kudos to these guys for killing it with the music. And once again, Max kind of proving that he can really work with almost anybody if the need arises. But I think that's just one of the things you pick up in the Wasteland. Also, this is a really cool vehicle. I got the tank treads here. And this guy just like covered in bullets. It's like, oh, I know where he's from. Getting his ticket into the big time. Trying too hard, pal. It's just like if that thing is barely making it up that rubble, none of those guys are going to make it up that rubble. Now, I'm no expert when it comes to motorcycles. That's Joe's thing. But if I were those guys, I wouldn't be up on the edge like they are. I'd be on the main road because you probably overtake that war rig pretty quickly. Really good shot of Immortan Joe there. Looking just crazy, crazy. These guys want to play Trials. These guys love Trials Fusion and all that jazz. Furiosa about to go to work. Love it. And you can also tell, like, it's kind of like, oh, this is so convenient for these guys to be able to jump off these things. But this is kind of their area, so it makes sense to me that they would, have all this stuff kind of set up to some degree and be dropping grenades and bombs like that. Also, a really good use for one of those things like, not a cow prod, cattle wrangler. I don't know, thing you put on front of train. and just Max just driving and giving her guns. I love it so much. Because this easily could have been Max doing all this, but nope. You know, they're kind of their team in it. It's so good. And Furiosa's one heck of a shot, and it's very good. Yeah, Max just turning around one shot with the pistol. Ooh, that a boy. I love a good pistol wielder. Really good use of those flares that we saw earlier on. Because they could have also just, like, not use those flares earlier and just had her use it there for a cool splash of color, but it's contextualized in the world that they would have it. Oh, that fire looks so good to me. Look at how red it is. It's just, man. Also, it's cool because there's only 2 of them, but it's pretty manageable. Like, they take out those guys on the motorcycles. These guys are just showing up, so it's not like they're the best and they're taking out, like, 50 guys themselves. Oh, Immortan Joe getting stopped in his tracks by Splendid. Also, his Magnum is so cool. That's so crazy, because, like, you know, saying that to him is just makes him so happy, you know? Yep. The power of a true dictator, and they're all just in love with him. He's just like, of course, mediocre. Oh, man. And Mortem's hair, too. I love that he's got this long flowing hair, because you could tell there's not a windshield there, the windows are down or whatever, and it's just like his hair just makes him look even more insane all the time. Also, how they switch out all their guns, or at least you see that Max is switching out different pistols. It's great. And he's like, well, you can't really drive without the wheel. It's like, of course she survives, but... Max just gives a thumbs up. Yep. Of course, this movie does that a lot, where you think one thing is going to happen, and then it's like, nope. But the twist comes so fast. It's like the guy who gets shot earlier, and then, you know, witness me. And then we have that moment right there. Oh. It's like all he has to say. And his voice, I don't know what it is. There's something about it that really is just like, she went under the wheels. She went under the wheels. Just like, yep, she's gone. And the one thing that was protecting them, the fact that she was pregnant and about to give birth, now that's gone. That crazy gun too. Does he have like a bunch of like baby doll heads like as a necklace? That's pretty messed up. I love that they kind of jimmy rig, as it were, or jury rig a wheel together as best as they can for the moment. Nice shot. Furiosa is so freaking good on so many levels. But also, so is Max, so it's cool. It's great. It's just that, like, I should say that in this world, it's really cool because she's an incredibly good shot. She's also very resourceful. She does what she has to. That poor guy's just still playing guitar. Still keeping people motivated. I get that, man. It's hard to be a cheerleader. Just gotta do it. He's probably no good in a fight. Unless he's burning someone with his flame guitar. Another thing that this movie does too is kind of like that a classic story trope of we're trying to travel this great distance to go to this kind of place we've heard of. Haven't necessarily seen it a bunch, or our main character hasn't, but we're gonna get there. Don't worry about it. Can be a little annoying, but it gives them the destination, even though we have no idea really how long it's gonna take them to get there. Another thing that I do really appreciate about this is that she's making repairs while it's still moving out of necessity, basically. They're like, we have to do that. I like how you start to kind of feel for Nux a little bit, just because you get that he's been brainwashed his whole life to follow Immortan, and now he's finally getting shown kindness by these people these brides saved his life because Furiosa was about to slit his throat. And they're like, unnecessary kill. And Nux just can't, he can't die. He's hoping to die on the Fury Road. That's kind of like the best thing that you can get, but doesn't matter. He walks a different path now. Yep, Larry and Barry. So gross. Got little faces on them too. It's just like, ugh. With Furiosa, that's like 4 or 6 or 7 kills if you're, shooting 2-for-1s, as it were. I also heard they shot the nighttime stuff also maybe during the day, but put some different filters and things on it to really punch it up in a different way. That's interesting if it's true. And you can see kind of here, it's all blue light except for the lantern back there. It's so crazy. Also, that would be terrifying for me. Think about driving that big vehicle and it just starts to slip around and stuff. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die. Oh, yes, give me that guitar, baby. So good. Just always nipping at their heels, which is great. Yeah, this movie is just, it moves. It really moves and shakes, and I really appreciate that, because some of these, bigger action movies have these moments where they drag a little bit, and I'm sure this movie, you could really make the case for some very brief moments, but like, look at this. We're moving into the next segment. It's like, yep, here we go. Kind of reminds me of Troy a little bit when they get to that night scene and they start lighting up those big fireballs and sending them down the hill towards their aggressors. Guy's just still playing the guitar. He's like, all right, let's slow it down a little bit. Look how that's like multiple cars almost stacked on top of each other, like these bumpers. Oh, so great. Really technical equipment out there. That's good. How does that guy keep up? This tank treads. Did he just a bullet in his tooth? How crazy is that? Ugh. Ugh. Ugh, disgusting. It's so weird. Yeah, these guys. I had a baby brother. It's just like, and he's like excited about that. Uh, oh man, yeah, these guys are messed up. Even I'm saying that, guys, and you know me. I like to have my dark jokes, but to be like, oh yeah, I had a baby brother and he was perfect in every way, but he's dead. It's like, oh my gosh. Now those tank treads coming in handy. Those are some long barrel pistols, my friend. Of course, the bullet farmer guy is just probing with a bunch of shots blindly. Just beyond that thing, doesn't know what the tree is. It's so good. Encroaching gunfire. A rev head. I also like that we've proven right now, before this, that Furiosa is just literally a better shot than he is. And even Max, after wasting those two shots or trying, he's like, kind of begrudgingly, but like, he's like, take the gun, like, and use me to do it. So good. So good. And again, a little bit of that deafening sound because we're kind of hearing what Max would hear in that moment. And now he's blind. Oh, crazy. So good. Making your villain even crazier and creepier. Yeah, I do like how this trio that was fighting each other earlier. So good. Also, this song you're hearing here in the background, they also have this in the trailers. People know it. It's Verdi's Requiem Dis Array. So you should look it up. It's really good. I kind of wanted like the Mad Max variation of it, but I haven't found it. Yeah, probably some of them should die here, but they don't, because they're not really aiming very well. And Max just like the whole movie, just holding on for dear life. Poor guy. This movie, it's sometimes hard to talk over because I just get so captivated in these moments where I just kind of just stop and I'm just like, huh, look at it, look at all this stuff. And there they are again with Nux driving and Max outside. Nice little parallel to earlier, intentional or not. As shine as that. I love the writing in this movie. It's so good. It's almost like Tom Hardy's voice was like dubbed over later, but I think that's just him. Also, I do love this moment. You could go and cut to this scene and see what Max does, but you don't necessarily get to see all of what happens here, which I think is kind of great to leave it up to your imagination just a smidge in a movie that's been showing you everything. Yeah, because you hear the gunfire, you see the explosion in the distance, and you think, okay, like, what the heck happened? Max, you alive? Like, you dead, man? And of course, his name is the title of the movie, so it's hard to believe that he would die here, but it just adds a little bit to the mystique of this character, which I love because he did it. They don't say exactly how. He blew something up, and he just took care of business. It's a little bit bloody, but is it his blood? I think the music really brings it home too. It's just so good. Which, if you really knew what that was, kind of disgusting, but yeah, I love that. Just, you don't have to show everything all the time, and I think, yeah, that's okay. I think these are just stilt walkers that are out in the world. Kind of weird. Kind of unnecessary, but there they are nonetheless. And a nice little fade to black next time on... Oh, no, here we go. Sounds like a TV show right there. Or the end of Return of the King, am I right? Jumping back into the daytime here, too, is that it's kind of like you get your yellows, your oranges, your reds, your browns, more so here. And then, at night it's just like all blue. But then when you jump back to this, you can feel the change. Some of the stuff in this movie kind of cliched, but that's fine. It doesn't really bother me like it would in other stories. Also, I do like this moment here with Nux. Although brief, you think like, oh, maybe he's just become like a nicer person, sweeter, but he's still pretty savage underneath it. I mean, that's just who he is at his core. And every time I look at this thing, when they give us a moment to really drink it in, like right now, you can just, this war rig is just so cool. Like, it's just wonderful. The dental plans in the apocalypse like this, post-apocalypse, they must be pretty good still, because a lot of these people's teeth, besides the bullet farmer, most of them are pretty good. Yep. I love that Max is just always that constant mindset of everything's a threat all the time, never trust anything. And, after what he's been through, I totally get it. I don't know why she had to be naked up there. Oh well. Also introducing some of my favorite side characters in almost any film. Because so far, you've just kind of seen, all these cool, like, creepy dudes who are just running around. They're all crazy and all horrible people. And then you get this group, and you're like, okay, so they must be, like, who are they? What are they about? Then you start to realize they're a bunch of old ladies. So good. Furiosa is a cool name. I wonder how many people have been named Furiosa after this film, naming their babies. 7,000 days. All right, quick math. What is that? So, a little over 300. So 3 years. 21 years. Is that right? Is that right? Not maybe that many. I love that they say that, but then you take a look at Nux and you're like, all right. Don't know if we can trust this guy. See, what did I tell you about the dental plans? They're really good. What? I do like that you have this moment where you've gone past the point that you were supposed to stop at. You know, like all of your hope, you're driving through it all night. There's a lot of shots in this movie that I could kind of point at and say, man, this is like the shot. But I remember this one from the trailer kind of coming up here with Furiosa right here where she's, you know, she's lost it all. All the hope is gone. She's been just trying so hard to get to this point, to get this opportunity to make this happen and bring all these people with her to save them all. And it didn't work out. I think that's kind of an interesting kind of lesson to put in this story that, you know, you might not always win the way you think you're going to. Love it. Something about like older heroes in media. There's something I just love about it so much. I think it's so cool. One thing that's kind of interesting to me about this movie, is that even though I do like the writing, I feel like they speak so quickly. Like everybody's talking so fast, and I don't know if it's because some of them sound like they're from Australia or something. Maybe you're catching this too, but or maybe I'm just crazy. It's a really good chance it's that last one. I wonder what Max's plan was. Was he just going to stay in the green place with them, or was he just going to take the war rig and keep on trucking? 160 days, Furiosa? That's nuts. Hope is a mistake. Ugh, Max. Another thing I do appreciate about this film is that they don't force a romance here. I think it would have been really simple for a lot of other directors or writers to just say, hey, you know what? Max and Furiosa, they're going to fall in love with each other. They're going to have a happy, beautiful ending together where they ride off into the sunset. But they don't do that here, and I think that's smart, especially if you want to kind of continue the franchise, even if you don't have Furiosa in it, because I think Max will always be kind of your through line, even if he isn't always the focal point. He is us. We are him, kind of just here, even though we might not necessarily want to be. We're just in these situations right alongside Max. I don't know where they got those motorcycles. I guess it's from the older ladies. They brought them. Little sled and everything. So good. So simple. Aquacola. I love it. It's a very simple plan, even though it's crazy. And I love it. I think the biggest issue, though, I have with this is that Max, like, just talked about, like, not having hope. And hope is, it's a mistake. And I guess that's the whole point, is that, like, when he watched that other bride go into the wheel, reminds him of presumably his daughter, and kind of like finding redemption together in the opposite direction, because just riding off forever and nowhere in particular, never finding what you want, there's no point in that. So yeah, the guitar guy just sleeping, so good. Oh, and the foot. Ugh. Ugh. But again, a just deceptively simple plan that does seem kind of crazy, to just be like, let's just go back the way we came. They get in our way, we'll blow them all up. Immortan Joe's voice too. I love the distortion on it. It's so good. And everybody's going back to work. Like it. Oh, it's so good, man. Again, this movie does just move along at such a quick pace. It's great. Just doing a bunch of different types of prayer, just trying to get whomever she can. This is one of those movies too that you just would benefit seeing it in an actual theater or on a bigger screen with a really good sound system. I think that's very clutch. And now we've got the old ladies going to work. I love it. Yeah. I love that they have a guy out there like basically feeding the fuel into it to make it go faster. So good. And that's the thing, is that each one of these different fights adds something a little bit different, as far as, you know, they're adding like, oh, they just put down those like those strip lines right there, and they're like, you know, literally spitting fuel into these things. Like they weren't doing that before, and now they are. This guy, ugh. Yes. Oh, that was a chin shot. Dang. Something I also love about, you know, they do this a lot in sci-fi movies, is that they have like somebody working like on the engines and all these things while they're in a chase or in a fight, which is kind of cool to me, but would also be very terrifying. Good place for your sharpshooters. Aim for the drivers, ladies. That's what I recommend. Yep, exactly. Oh, so cool. If only it weren't bulletproof. Oh, it's so sad. Ugh. That loss, you feel it because you're like, oh no, not her. Ugh. It's also interesting too to see how these war boys hunt like a pack of wolves. They kind of like picking away and kind of trying to tie it down, and uh, yeah, it's just so cool. Oh, and look at all those vehicles, man. Oh, nice shot. It's a PG-13 movie, but this easily could have been R, I think. kind of taking that. Oh, that was so great seeing that guy get whipped with the chain. But taking that chain, physics from the first fight and implementing it here again. And these guys, the tall boys or whatever they're called, like, and there again, the deafening silence or whatever. I love it. Or deafening sound, I should say. Oh, yeah, they got the saws and stuff. Yeah. Oh, man, these guys are crazy. Oh, messed in the chest. Oh, yeah, did she get hit with a chainsaw? Ugh. Oh. Another really good shot right there. I'm sorry if it's mostly just me just saying, that's a good shot. There's a good shot. Really like that shot. Oh. The kid, like, saving his life, too, or, like, kind of those memories. So crazy. Max takes a lot of punishment. Oh, and finally using that knife, truly, from the gear shifting. Oh, so good. Fight back, like, at all, though. Come on now. Having that big spike in your hand, oh my gosh. Oh, and, like, in your face a little bit, too. Ugh. Good job, Furiosa. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. He chainsaws the dude. That guy is terrifying. Oh, shoving bullets in his face. Furiosa, like, true grit, man. Getting stabbed like that and still driving and holding on to him at the same time. She's pissed she lost one of the brides. It's like, ugh. It's like, someone please remove the knife that's in me right now. Finally using the weight of that war rig in a really cool way. Bye-bye. Valhalla. Yeah. Time to rally and kill these bad guys. I always love it when they have to kick or kind of punch, like, a friendly to help them out. It's so good. Love that when they do that in movies. Yes. Max just going nuts. That would be so painful. Oh, and Max just knocking that out. Just whatever. And see if Nux would have been up there because they took him out of that fight. That's something you have to think about, too. Max just uses the big fat guy as a bullet sponge, a meat shield. I love it. And once again, you still have a pretty good feeling for where everybody is for the most part. You know, as far as the heroes are concerned. Ugh. And look at that. Like, there's still fire, but it wasn't like it exploded like that car. They just ran it down. Oh, putting his big fat foot on that. It sounds like this in movies where, like, you see the hero in an impossible situation like this, and you think, how are they going to get out of here? Oh, so good. Oh my gosh. Beautiful destruction. Yeah, that was a flaming yaw of destruction right there. Just enough. It's petite, beautiful, gorgeous. Yeah, get the guitar going. I wonder, like, how he got his job. He's like, can he fight? No, but he can play guitar. Cool. Furioso, living up to that name. Man, you gotta give it to Immortan Joe. He's not giving up. Also, Charlize Theron doing a great job of still being Furiosa, but also showing that she's like, I'm not in a good place right now. I just got stabbed. Not feeling too good. Not feeling too hot. uh, I'm so glad that they actually got to do a little bit of a fight scene with this guitar being in the mix. It's just so good. I'm happy because you'd like always wondered like, oh, what would have happened if he would have gotten to that thing? Nope. Now you can just see it. I love those explosive spears. And the music in the background lines up now with the guitar too. It's so good. Max is just like not giving up. I love it. Yeah, this guy's like what, 7 feet tall? Somebody shoot him. Yeah, grab the skull. Max. This is very Indiana Jones to me, and I love it. You've got your kind of rough and tumble hero who might not be the greatest fighter, but he's going to do what he has to win. Take on just this ginormous dude. Raiders vibes. If you can get some Raiders vibes, then that's not a bad thing. And not be a direct just rip off. Oh my gosh, that dude went to the wheel. Oh, that's great. There we go. It's like a Bane fight. That's great. Dude, and timing with the music while he hits those with the tanks, it's so good. It's so good. Remember me? Oh, gosh. Oh, I forgot that his face gets all janked up. Sacrifices her arm to do it. Remember I was saying about the whole it could be rated R? If they would have panned in on his face, you gotta know that he's just messed up. They're like, yep, we ripped off his mouth. He bled everywhere. He's not coming back. Also, the dude, for being in not great physical condition and health, he fought for quite a long time. She's like, I got chainsawed kind of in the neck and I'm dead now. I was gonna say, like, this guy, you gotta get your closure on this dude. That's why, Max, you gotta double tap, man. Gotta make sure. This dude, what a monster. And he makes her a better, like, kind of final person, you know? Noble sacrifice here. Ugh. That poor war rig did so much. This doesn't look super good. It's a little too 3D, I think. A little too corny for my liking. A little too campy, but I get it. It's fine. Not that big of a deal. Kind of crazy, too, that not only did they beat Joe, Immortan Joe, but they're taking his vehicle back. It's wonderful. Also, really good job, again, to Charlize Theron for selling us on that, because it really sounds horrible. I am so sorry. Not looking too great there. Get her some water. Well, geez, if you're a nurse, why don't you help us out here, huh? And earlier on, we heard that he was a universal donor. So this works. Again, it's kind of a throwaway line earlier, kind of, but it works. It works. I'm okay with it. And if I'm okay with it, then it's fine, right? Obviously, that's a joke. It's a joke. I love that that's what it took for him to say his name. Which is admittedly kind of a boring name for the post-apocalypse, because even though he's got, like, it's Max Rockintansky or whatever, Furiosa is such a cooler name. Again, you can kind of tell that these structures probably are CG, you know, like this obviously is, but like those stone structures, that's just like, yeah, but that's how they use the CG. It wasn't for, like, the actual cars or anything. Just did it for this. Makes sense. Sparingly used and only to enhance. That's how all movies should be. Even though some stuff is impossible to do without CG. I get that. I really do. Look at that quad barrel gun. There we go. See it for just a second there. It's a little CGI'd up, but still. Max, what a cool move for him to do. Just be like, yep, here you go. It's just like ripping him apart. Ugh. I like that guy's got that necklace with the brand on. It's got the chain hanging down, or the chains. And Furiosa also has that as well. And yeah, these guys have it too. And it's interesting little things like that that really sell the world. Again, here we could have had this moment where Max and Furiosa were like hugging, and they finally kiss each other, and they're just in love, and it's so happy, and everybody wins, and there'll never be sadness ever again in the world. But they don't do that, which is great. I think it's really cool. Something kind of similar happens at the end of Pacific Rim. You think the two kind of the main female lead and main male lead are going to get together, and then they don't, which is very surprising. But here you get that moment where you're like, she kind of is looking around for Max, and he's like, I'm going off on other ventures. I'm doing my own thing. Here and Gone. Love it. Great last shot there, too. And there it is. Mad Max Fury Road. Where must we go? We who wander this wasteland in search of our better selves. The first history, man. Look at that. And there it is. Mad Max Fury Road. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me here while I kind of talked over it. Again, the highlights for me, the performances are all wonderful. I think Tom Hardy stands out along with Charlize Theron as being the two best ones. And Nicholas Hoult too. I mean, it's hard to say because most everybody was really good. Visuals are really stunning. The action is great. The practical effects are wonderful. I love all the vehicles. I love the noise and the roar of the engines and all that. And the music is also excellent. I guess the biggest detriments would be maybe some of the kind of rushed story stuff, and that while the world building is kind of fun and good, it doesn't really make you super attached to too many people. But that's okay. Who cares? It's for this movie, it did exactly what it needed to do. Kind of like a soft reboot for the franchise in a weird way, even though it's a continuation of it. But I'm just excited to see more of it, and I hope you guys are as well. And again, this movie commentary was actually a suggestion. I kind of give out like 3 or 4 for our Centurion tier, our $25 tier over on patreon.com. / critical reviews. So if you want to suggest a movie or you want to vote on any upcoming ones, I'm going to try to do one once a month if I can. And try to kind of be honest with you guys if it's going to be like one of those things where I have to double up on one month and I can't do it another or whatever. But basically, yeah, so if you want to support us, head on over to Patreon, and even if you donate $1, you're going to get your beautiful face into our card game, get it all drawn up by the one and only Yoren Evers. Or you can also go check out our Spreadshirt. That's another great place to support us. But thank you, everybody, and thank you to our patrons who voted on this. We really appreciate your support. And even if you can't support us financially, liking and sharing, all that free stuff, that helps so much too. So I hope you guys had fun with this. And until the next one, I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do. I'll put up a few. I might have to do Infinity War one of these days, which will be a heck of a long one, but it'll be good. Yeah, and let me know if there's, some other ones, if you're at that tier, that you want to see, or if we get enough people kind of rallying the community behind one specific movie, then maybe I'll just kind of break away from that and say like, all right, here we go, we'll do this one. Either way, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, supporting the channel, and doing all that you do. I really appreciate it. So until next time, just remember to adapt and overcome. Bye, guys.